Welcome to Eileen Fisher Women Together. My name is Antoinette, and I am delighted to be with you all today for our December 2020 session of Women Together Connect. And so if you're just joining us for the first time, a warm welcome to you. And I see lots of familiar faces. So warm welcome back to many of you who are coming back in. And if it's your first time in here, if you've been here many times before, whether you're in Zoom or joining us on YouTube, if you're live, you can type directly into the chat or the comment space and just say hello and where you're coming from. I am standing on Lenape land known as Cortland Manor, just near the Hudson River and in New York. And it's quite cold today and has been getting colder and colder. And I just remember when we first started meeting weekly, actually at the time we were meeting daily in March, we were in spring, and now it's just about 9 months later or so, and here we are. So for those of us who've been going through the ups and downs and trials and tribulations that have come with a global pandemic and who knows what else, my heart is with each and every one of you and this global community that has come together. Many of us here in the United States, and many of us actually coming in from other parts of the world as well. So we've got a few from Pennsylvania today, California, Boston, Vermont, sunny South Florida. Can you send some warmth up this way? I'll take it. Thank you. And then luckily it is sunny here in New York as well, sunny in Winchester, Massachusetts, Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada, light snowfall. I like how you make that sound joyful in that little chat box text. So Northern New Jersey, Palm Beach, Hastings, just down the river from here, North Carolina, Northern California, Chile and Houston. Rachna is here from India. Welcome back. Chicago, wonderful. Wilmette, Illinois, North Carolina Mountains, San Francisco East Bay. It's just wonderful to be able to come together in this way as a group of women, as a group of caring souls, spirits, however you want to think about it, just coming together and connecting with one another. And Eileen has been a clothing designer for many years, as most of you know, but we talk a little bit about just going beyond the clothing and just going beyond what we use to outwardly express ourselves. Today's topic is on sharing celebration, and I am grateful for today's topic because it made me actually come out of my little cocoon and say, what does that actually mean for me? So we will go into that in just a moment. But before we do, I'll invite us to just land here together. There are just over 90 of us here in this Zoom room and more on YouTube. So wherever you are, in whatever location or space or place, we do a number of tiny practices to land here today. And I just see a number of us also on YouTube, the comments coming in there as well. So as we do that landing, just an invitation to know that we're coming together from all of these different points on the planet, and yet here we are landing together on planet Earth with our feet on the ground and our head in the sky, and hopefully some part of our body is acting as that mediator between earth and sky. So just an invitation to tune into that, and we can just tune into the breath. And the tiny practice is just something we can do at any time of the day, any place, and just perhaps return to the body. So if you can tune into your feet on the ground, if that's available to you, and maybe close your eyes or lower your gaze, whichever is comfortable. Just deepen the inhale and feel a sense of uplift in the spine. And with each breath, as you feel the energy building inside yourself, also extend that energy out. Perhaps extend the energy out to the room that you're in. Perhaps connecting out to the others who are joining this call at this time. And to those who may not be here but may need a little extra energy or love today. And I'll ring the sound of the bell to bring us into a moment of stillness, and I'll ring the sound of the bell to bring us back. Sometimes I feel like I could just stay in that place with all of you and I would come out much more relaxed. So thank you for that as well. I have looked forward to each of these sessions um, just as much probably as each of you. So thank you for coming together and for making this space for us to connect with one another. And to just have that little moment of connection to the self too. So as I said, today is about sharing celebration. So I would love to hear just a little bit about what brought you here today to today's conversation. Perhaps it's something specific, or perhaps you just needed some women coming together, sharing in celebration in your life. Or perhaps you haven't felt in the mood to celebrate and came to get a reminder of why it's so important, which is what I needed yesterday when I was thinking about this. So if you can take a moment and just share in the chat or in the comments, what brought you to today's session? And it could just be that you knew you had to come back on a Tuesday at noon to reconnect with all of us. So whatever it is, Carly said, I try to come often for the connection. Absolutely. Need ideas for new types of celebrations since we have no parties, no cookie bakes, no nothing this year. And I wanted to close out the year with this wonderful community, and I'm so grateful for the handful of sessions I participated in this year. Looking forward to whatever is offered in 2021. Thank you, Hillary, and thanks for being here and all that you've given to us. Diane, I celebrate these moments and every weekly session brings me peace and centers me. Shari, this is my weekly hour of connection and centering. Bianca, I to stop, to breathe, to send light and love out to everyone, to feel our sense of oneness. Helen, need any reason to celebrate these days. Pat, grateful for a vaccine and a beginning to an end of suffering and death. Marianne, to experience a restorative hour. Oh, so many. Yeah. Joining this amazing group and need to know what and how to celebrate. Christine, I'm grumpy and wanted to shift the energy and to be in the company of inspiring others. Absolutely. Catherine, 1 year anniversary for the death of 2 of my people. It's hard, but I'd like to celebrate their lives during this time. Randy, celebrating finally able to come back from blessedly busy consulting project. Welcome back. Kathleen, curious to hear about new celebrations in this most unusual of years. Self-care and peaceful time, maybe lifting the cloud floating over us all. Lift spirit. Yeah, beautiful. There's so many ways to bring cheer and celebration. Oh, so many good ones in here. Oh, this one's sweet. Diane, I've baked for the usual cookie swap and left cookies for neighbors with a little note of gratitude. Teresa, need this to make myself sit and relax and connect to others. Otherwise, I'm going all the time. Absolutely. Sharing love with my friends. So it's just wonderful to be able to connect with each other and to have a little bit of a moment of just kind of all of the things that you all just said. So yesterday I was thinking about this and I thought, how can I possibly lead a session on celebration when I don't feel celebratory at all? Thankfully, I then sat down and wrote about it and felt much better after that. And then this morning had other things to celebrate. So I would say that just the very act of celebrating can actually put us in a new space. So that's what I'm hoping for today. And I noticed that that act of celebration can improve our well-being, can actually decrease stress. So I, give that just nugget for all of us. And I'll just let you know that, when I was thinking about this, I was like, well, why is it so hard? And I thought, well, part of me is, I have a few reasons that it feels really hard to celebrate. So I'll share some of those. The first one is that it feels like everything is just so bad for everyone. So what right do I have to actually celebrate? And then celebrating will just take up extra time. I need to be productive and efficient, and celebrating just gets in the way. I do that one on a regular basis. And then no one else sees my accomplishments and no one else will see my celebration. So why should I even do it at all? And then the last one that I realized that I often do is that I realize, or I think within myself, that I'm not worthy of celebration in and of itself. So even when I'm going to all these like perfunctory things, Diane, I love it. The reminder that that's not true. Even though it's not true, there's a little part of me that feels that. And, there's just something within us that sometimes that little voice, that little creepy gremlin voice just comes in and says, I'm not worthy of celebration, even if I'm only looking at all the other things that I have left to accomplish. I'm just saying, well, I still have that to do. I still have that to do. So there's a moment that happens, and there are many more moments that we have to actually look at what I did accomplish, look at what I am in general. So, and I will also say there are a couple of reasons in general for our reluctance or either our reluctance or our enthusiasm for celebration. And they either, will give us a road to thanks everyone. They'll either give us a road to be able to celebrate or sometimes pull us back from celebration. So one is that there's a social aspect to it and there's an internal aspect to it. So in the ones that I just described, in the social one, I might just celebrate because family's getting together. I might celebrate just because the calendar says it's time to celebrate. Or there's an external cause, someone else has a reason to celebrate, so I'm going to go celebrate them. And then there's the internal reasons, and it could be because of, I achieved something, or there's a, calendar thing it's my birthday, I have to. But I think there's also this other piece, which I just touched on, is our own deep sense of self-worth and our own deep sense of knowing that who we are is valuable and who we are is important. And so that can just be a waking up in the morning and saying, I'm awake and I'm alive and I can be enthusiastic about that celebration. And there's just so many little things to celebrate about that. And so to me, the very act of the breath is a celebration. And that is something that I just wanted to remind us all today and bring in, that I had this little moment of, yes, I can have these low moments. And then I also have this immense capacity to take myself out of that, or to move through it, not out of it. And to also, really look towards possibility, not just what do I have left to accomplish, but also what I know is inherent potential within myself. And that could be inherent potential just for, this beautiful day. And I will tell you that I was writing this as it was snowing in New York and I was feeling all types of blue. And then as soon as I had that little realization, the sun started to come out through the clouds and hit the side of the rocks. There are these beautiful rocks right by my house, and it reflected in the mirror onto me. And I just all of a sudden had this, here's the sun in the clouds. And sometimes that very act of celebration is that moment of the sun peeking through the clouds in our own lives. So I know that many of us already know this, and this is just a reminder. And I bring it in because it's just something that, even though we know it, it's not always something that we keep top of mind every day. And even when we're celebrating and we're going through the rituals that we do every year, we may not remember that we're worthy of celebration too. So, and that is inherent purely because we are human, we're alive, and we keep taking a breath in and out every day, and that is something to celebrate. So I thought we might do a tiny practice of celebrating the breath. And then we can do some journaling. So if you can bring your journal and pen near you. And before we do a little celebration of the breath, maybe just moving our bodies, because that is a always fun thing to do. And just a reminder, another way to celebrate, which I also did last night, is putting on a piece of music that you really love, and just moving around the room. I already see some dancing, but this morning I was just singing and dancing. And so it is possible to go through these lows and then come back up and celebrate. And it doesn't mean that we won't go back down again, but just remember that there's always a way to kind of pull ourselves back. So I just want to invite us into a little celebration of the body and the breath. And what we can first do is take our hands and just interlace our fingers, and let our fingers give each other a hug, because that's just a nice thing to do. And then you can just, we have a dear teacher, Zuleika, who she calls this drop your troubles. So you just put all your troubles inside this little basket that you have now. And you can let that basket just go down to your pelvis, to your waist. And then from here, you can just put all the troubles in and then flip the basket over and drop your troubles out. And then just push your fingertips up and out overhead, that nice little basket, and just give yourself a little stretch. You can stretch to one side. Inhale, maybe notice that the breath is there for you always, but that you can also access it. And then exhale, come back to center, and inhale to the other side. And then exhale back, and then you can pop your fingertips out and release them. And then I end up fixing my clothes, so we can do that. And then just shake out your shoulders a little bit, because that feels good. Maybe do a little neck roll. Be a little gentle with your neck. And then just rolling the neck out a little bit, letting the ear drop to one side, letting your shoulder drop down. And then to the other side. I notice that that's where I keep a lot of stress. So just being really gentle with that. And then if this is available to you, just to get some stretch in the shoulders. This is the hardest one for me because I spend a lot of the day like this. So I will interlace my fingers in that same basket behind my back. And just open the shoulders, let the hands drop down. Open the shoulders, open the chest. Inhale. If you want to look up a little bit, just gently looking up. Some people have really, really open shoulders. Bless you, because I don't know what that feels like. Open, 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 and then release. And you can shake out the fingers, shake out the shoulders. Maybe there's a little bit more heat in the body. And just coming back to a comfortable place, if that's standing, sitting, whichever is comfortable for you. Just notice the breath again. Notice if it's different than it was when you first landed here today. And perhaps put either one or both hands on the belly. One hand on the belly, one hand on the chest is what I always love. And just for a moment, feeling your own hands on your body. Just feeling soothed by that presence that we can have with ourselves. A celebration of the body, a celebration of the breath. You can close your eyes or lower your gaze and just continue to breathe into this space. And just for a moment, I'd like you to imagine maybe it's an animal or a friend or someone who's passed on, someone who you deeply care about, who is just looking in on you. And just imagine them coming to visit in whatever way, or envision them coming to visit in whatever way. And just for a few moments, allow them to acknowledge you and allow them to shower and celebrate you, celebrating you, showering you with love and joy, their wisdom. Just for a moment, those hands, if you still have them on your body in some way, just imagine that those are their hands. And that this hand on the body is a celebration. These little barks are celebrations, a shower of their love for you. Just for a few more moments, stay with them. Perhaps there's a word or a phrase that they've shared with you. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes, you can release your hands, and perhaps just find a journal and write down anything that you may have found in that little space. And just write that down for yourself to remember. And just a reminder, the key to journaling is also just putting the hand to the paper and letting whatever's there come out. And that can often let something come through that you might not have really consciously known was there. So just allowing the work of the hands to let whatever's coming up move through. It could be a message from that loved one. It could be something else that's been sitting in you that wants to be celebrated or shared. You can just write that down. I see a lot of people still going, so continue to write if you want to. But if you have completed that, feel free to also write down um, anything that you really want to appreciate in yourself. Now that you've gotten that from perhaps something that visited, perhaps now write down if it's an accomplishment, if it's something that you just feel grateful for. Perhaps it's a celebration of the breath or the body, or Jennifer shared her waking up practice, and it seems like it can be a little bit of a practice. So perhaps a celebration of moving through a practice in the morning, whatever it may be, anything that you want to celebrate within yourself. And then when you have that down, perhaps think about a way that you would want to celebrate someone else, because part of what we do is, and we can often be really good at this one. So, part of what we do is we really know how to lift others up and celebrate each other. But just thinking of someone in your life or nearby who might need it or you might want to celebrate, and just write down one way that you can celebrate them. I love this question also that Angela put in the chat. She said, "I'm stuck on the word. How do you distinguish celebration versus appreciation?" And what I would say is that I open that question up to all of us. But what I would also add is that um, celebration for me has a little bit more of a ritual quality to it. It has a bit more of an act, whereas appreciation is something that I might do internally, or I might maybe share a note of appreciation. But often when I appreciate something, I might want to go a step further by actually celebrating it. And that could mean, the act of writing the note in and of itself is a celebration of something that I appreciate. And there could be a lot more than that. And I can give some ideas for celebration as well and ways to do that. Um, but often it comes with an act or a ritual of some kind, and that is what lighting a candle. Last night I decided that I was going to light an extra candle when I took a bath. So not only was I doing something to take care of myself, but I thought I'm going to make it a celebration by lighting a candle. And that act added a little bit more something to it. And then when I blew out the candle afterwards, it was like the celebration had a beginning and an end, and it had a kind of fullness to the experience of it. So I will add that as just a caveat as you think of ways to celebrate others. And for those of you who may have already written down a way to celebrate others, I'd like to think of that as a nourishing cycle of celebration. So the same way that you might think about celebrating someone else, like, oh, I would bake them cookies and leave them for them. Now I also want to bake those cookies for myself too. So the same act of celebration that we might do for ourselves, then we also celebrate others. And we call on the traditions that we know and that we have in our world. And Carol just mentioned that we're in the midst of Hanukkah, celebration of light. And I grew up going to Jewish day school, and my mother's Jewish, and I grew up with those traditions deeply. And this year I'm taking advantage of any candle that I can light. So I highly recommend taking advantage of, lighting as many candles as possible, and, finding all the reasons to celebrate the light over the darkness. So I'll give us maybe another few seconds to write, but um, also we'll move just in a few moments into our breakouts. And what I would say in our breakouts is that you can share some of what just came up in terms of how you've celebrated. And there are a number of us who are looking for ways to celebrate in this kind of new world that we find ourselves in. How do we do it without physically gathering together? How do we do it in a way that's safe and still feels warm? So I invite us to share with each other. We'll have about 20 minutes to share just what comes up for you as possibilities for celebrating in this season. And I also want to add one other thing before we do go into breakouts, that for many of us, this year is not just about celebrating all of the good things. It's also about celebrating the lives that we've lost. And that can mean quite specifically the physical deaths that we may have experienced and the grief that we're going through with that. And it could also mean the parts of our lives that we didn't get to have this year. So some of the celebrations that we didn't get to have, some of the parts of our lives that we had hoped to come to fruition in 2020 that may not have been able to, or the things that we let go of in our lives that kind of went with the dumpster fire of 2020. So there's also in that grieving process an important part of celebrating that which lived, that which we learned from, and honoring that life in a way that that you can. So there might be making a fire and burning something. Maybe you write something down and put it in the fire and watch it transform. Or perhaps there's a way that you can do a virtual gathering and do a memorial for the gatherings that you didn't get to have this year, or for, the lives physically that we lost this year. So just sharing stories and coming together, even if it's virtual, can make a big difference. So I highly encourage us to share with each other and just listen to one another, because that in and of itself can be a gift, as we often talk about in here. So we'll turn to each other for about 20 minutes. We'll share a few minutes each, and just really giving each other the gift of listening. I often say that we don't know what the other person had for breakfast this morning, let alone what their life experience may be to date. So, or many of the other great details of our lives. So just making space for that and recognizing the person or the people in front of you have a lot of beauty to bring, and that we see them for that and give them the gift of listening. So enjoy your time together, and I'll see you back here in about 20 minutes.